Hi, my name is Aysia Gilbert. I am here with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And I am here with Miss
Prescious Sasser, P as in Peter, R-E-S-C-I-O-U-S, last name Sasser, S-A-S-S-E-R.
All right. So, could you tell me a little bit about Kenny Watkins, your son?
Okay. So Kenny is my firstborn, my only son. He was, at the time of the murder, he was 18 years old. So he would have been 23 years old now. It's been over 5 years and 2 weeks since he's murdered. But Kenny himself, extremely handsome little young man, really athletic, loved math. He ran, actually I was just telling someone the story, he was here 7 years ago. He ran at Morgan State for the Junior Olympics with his, the company Amani Speed City, which we're from California, Los Angeles area. And so just like, you know, you meet somebody, you know, they're really cool, like this is a cool guy. He was just that. Just a really great smile, dark complexion, just a cool, always want to make somebody laugh, just that nice, cool guy, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about what happened to him?
Sure. On August 16, 2016, it was the first day of school. It rings a bell because a week prior to that, I had just had a daughter, a little girl who's 5, and he was, so in the LA area, he was going to the barber shop. There's a corner called Century and Figueroa. He was going, traveling eastbound, walking, and I was driving westbound on Century Boulevard. We were supposed to meet at the barber shop on Broadway, which is the next major street over. What the story was told and what the police officer stated in court was that there was a black Audi car with no plates. The morning prior, there was somebody walking around with a gun in the street, the major street of the west of that point, and they were called to patrol the area. The officer identified Evan Uraris. It was him and his partner driving southbound on Figueroa, leaving Manchester to Imperial Highway. He saw the car. He began to pursue the car. He lost the car. When he got back to the point in Century Figueroa, he assumed that there was a possibility, his words, not mine, that Kenny had departed from the vehicle. Kenny walked. He's walking east on Century. There's a gas station on the corner. He gets 3 houses down. The officer stated, he said in a commanding voice, "Show me your hands." Kenny looked back, continued to walk. The officer sped up, shot him 2 times in the back on the motorcycle. The officer falls off the motorcycle. He approaches Kenny. Someone screams. He extended his gun. He was gone before he hit the ground. He proceeded to handcuff him, hauled it in. Male, 6'1", 175 pounds, 25 to 30 years old, fully beard. Involved in an officer-involved shooting. Kenny was 5'7", 137 pounds, and had just the bare minimum of the mustache. They immediately picked Kenny up. The coroners, they didn't wait for the coroners to come out. They picked him up. It hit viral, social media first. I got a call, my daughter, who's now 19, she got a call stating that Kenny got shot. And I said, "What Kenny?" She began to call Kenny on the phone. We get there. We see the motorcycle lying on the ground. We assuming that I thought it was a motorcycle accident, because I actually ironically said, "Oh Lord, pray for the person that was on the motorcycle," because the motorcycle was laying like someone got hit.
Right.
Then moments later, I get a call from a friend. "Where are you at? Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you." Okay. Social media is popping up. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. What the hell?
Right.
My phone dies. My daughter's like, she's calling Kenny. Answer the phone, pick up the phone, pick up the phone. Moments later, we get to the scene. I was told by an officer that there was a a shooting in the area and that someone got shot. And they were taken to the local hospital. And they didn't provide me with any information. This was around 4:30. Around 8 o'clock come, another officer approaches me as I'm continuing to try to inquire about who's the person that got shot. I'm not getting answers. One officer approached me and said, hey, if you have a picture of your son, I'll go ask questions. I extended his senior school ID photo. He looked at it, he gave it back to me. That was like my one thing. But I'm at the point I'm thinking that he got shot. I'm not thinking
he's dead.
Yeah. And so we're in the area, we're waiting. People that I knew from work, from school, from friends, family, they're coming. I'm like, how do these people know? Like, how do they know he got shot? And so there was a woman, one of his friends walked up to me and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mom Precious, I'm sorry. And a lady that was in an apartment building called her over and said, is that his mom? And she said, yeah. She said, does she know the police murdered her son? And that was like at maybe 7 o'clock. It wasn't quite dark because it was around this time of year. And then at 11, maybe midnight, the police had the van. They called me over. And then that's when they brought me into their nice little van. And then they told me that he was gone. And then I asked them how did he die? And they said it was an officer-involved shooting. And that's it.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about how this has impacted your family?
I think people don't realize the fact that when it comes to in a situation, because we're thinking time is of the essence. We think we have so much time with everybody. You fall out with your mom, you feel like, okay, well, 2 months from now, or you think about the projection of what's the years to come. And I think that is the most impactful. I had 3 daughters, and it was hard to deal with my grief and then deal with their grief because it's a different level. I don't know how it is to lose a brother. I have 2 brothers. I don't know how it is to lose a grandchild. I don't know how to use a best friend or a neighbor. And I was taking on everybody else's grief. And you don't know how to deal with it. You try to find things in the world that usually when you're stressed or you're upset or you're hurt, and you try to find an outlet for that. And then when that outlet doesn't work, and then you overexert yourself to take yourself out of that domain. The pain hurts. I'm gonna go take a class. The pain hurts. I'm gonna go stay at work a little later. And you abandon the people that do love you and support you. And then everybody has such a different outlet of news. You get to a point where you say, I don't know. So you learn to, so for me, I think the biggest challenge was that I was raised in the church. I was with the church. And my hate and hurt came towards God. I couldn't understand how God, how you do this. When you see someone with so much potential in life, not even just the act of potential, just you can't wait to see how great they become, or you can't wait to have these moments, and that's permanently taken away. That's something that's like the of life. That's like the it's like it's like when they say God is like the he's not a person, he's not a he or she, it's that's the of life. Like and then you find yourself challenging yourself to take the moment. And then but you have to learn to understand that people don't know what to say. Even if you're in that same situation, our love is different. You can have a son the same moment, the same time, but your love and my love is different.
Right, we're not the same.
We're not the same. That's why God made us all an individual. And it's like when you're in that, nobody can understand. And we can empathize with each other. You're like, oh my God, my heart goes out to you. And we don't know what to say. So I had to learn to not take what people say on the shoulder. Like, I remember someone told me, oh, he's in a better place. Really? So he's 18, healthy, on the way to a 4-year university.
And that's what you have to say.
And he's in a better place. So you explain that, like he thinks like, and so I just had to learn. And then you learn from experiences and lessons, and then you take in your life, and then you think about, how you just think.
Yeah.
And you find yourself in the midst of learning to take the moments of life and love it.
Yeah.
And then because the most challenging part for me was the first time I laughed, like really laughed, and I felt like I was betraying him. And that's the ironic part of grief.
Yeah.
Because everybody perceives you supposed to be, you're supposed to be sad all the time.
You felt like you didn't deserve to be happy.
No, you don't deserve to have a good moment or have peace because of the grief or the loss.
Yeah.
And I remember my fiance said a joke, and I can hear him laughing. That's how the joke. It was so fun. I know. I can hear a song and he would have liked this song, or I can say I can hear and I can see him dancing to this song. And so those are parts of where you have to little dashes of sprinkle pixie dust that you have to take in. But there's no way to describe the impact that it has on your relationship, your love, your heart.
Right.
We can believe in the answers of how we do, and they're still here with us, but I can't physically see you, touch you, hear you, and the pain of knowing that's a permanent state. It's no way to describe it.
Yeah. I know you said it's been 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Could you tell us a little bit how things are going on the legal sense with the police officer? Have any charges been made? Does he still have his job? How is it going on that?
Absolutely. So, Evan, we went to court. So this happened August 16, 2016. Took us a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years to go to court. We had to go in September. The legal system lets you know that you're black.
Yeah.
And it's no way around it to say it in a nice way.
Yeah.
They let you know what your place is.
Yeah.
They let you know who's on your side, and they let you know where you're gonna stand. And I think the moment in court was the permanency of him never coming back. And that's really weird, but it's always a little hope that this is like a dream, a nightmare, and this is just like, oh, he gonna walk through the door. Oh, the legal system knows how to bury you. We went to court. The officer initially from California, Judge Lacey, was the district attorney. She had already made a statement saying that she would never prosecute a police officer that ever was involved in an officer-involved shooting. So we knew that was clearly, because of the judicial system, it has to go through their internal, first. And so once she did that, criminal was dismissed. The ironic part is there was a young man, Jesse Romans, that was killed exactly a week before Kenny. He was 14. They investigate you so tough, the police, that I guess I didn't fit the criteria. I was a mom and I was a teacher and I had degrees, and so I didn't fit the resonation of what. They didn't call us when they made the decision. I heard about it through someone, and then I heard it again. It was like, oh, they're chanting Kenny's name downtown. I'm like, why are they chanting his name downtown? Because they were trying to make the decision without me being there. And so when we went to court, the charges, we stayed in court 3 weeks. I sat directly next to the man, like you two are standing now. I sat directly next to him the whole case.
Evan Urias, what's his name, the police officer?
Evan Urias, Urias. So he was an LAPD officer who had killed someone in October the year prior, and he was transferred to the motorcycle team. He had just finished his training August 1st, and that was like his first official date out. I heard him talk about how he was getting promoted. He had, his wife, his 3 sons. While we were in court, him and the judge chuckled, the defense attorney and everything. About everything. You go to court, and then they try to pacify you. Like the judge was she was racist. She wasn't fond of black people. She called this lady in the audience who had blonde hair. She was dark skinned. You with the yellow hair. she pretty much gave. Well, the defense was like he was, they strike, like, okay, we strike down the conditions of this case. She was giving him the legal jargon to use. It's a process. You're there for, they wanted to throw out that they wanted me to be excused out the courtroom when they brought up the pictures for his autopsy, because I wasn't allowed to see him. I wasn't allowed to identify his body.
Why?
Because Kenny had, what I was told is that Kenny had, he was doing the fire academy, and he had started when he was in high school. And during that time, he had to do live scan, CPR, and so because they had his fingerprints on file, that there was no reason. He had already been identified by the system, by the whatever they call it. So it's just like if you work as a teacher or you get a credential, you get live scan, your prints are in the system. So he had been identified from his friends. Yeah. So I didn't get to see him, so they held him for a week, and then we had the funeral the following week. Actually, tomorrow will be the 5th year of the day we had the funeral. So they held him. I would call the coroner's office. They wouldn't respond to my call. They said this person didn't work at this time. So after we got out, so after 3 weeks of court, we were told that at closing remarks, the DA stated that I was allegedly his mom. So the key in allegedly, if you ever look at law, shows that you have to go up to the stand and be acknowledged as the person. So since I was never called to the stand, because the judge stated prior that there was no need for me to come to the stand because I wasn't present at the scene, so they agreed that I wouldn't testify. I was still supposed to be called to the stand to acknowledge my relationship to him. And because I was never acknowledged as his mother, in spite that in California, only a parent can file civil suit in the conditions of a state of a person for a cause of action of death, that because I did not go to the stand, acknowledge who I was, that I was considered allegedly his mom, so the case was dismissed. So it went into appeal, and then as it's in appeal, we go into COVID.
So now it's a waiting period.
It's the waiting period. So you have to acknowledge the person. So they have to be, so even though during deposition, I was acknowledged as his mom, you have to submit a copy of the birth certificate and the death certificate. So on both certificates, I'm his legal mom. But how do you know? Because I could be any black woman sitting in this court. Because I never went to the stand and said.
Because they said you didn't have to.
Because the judge struck me from going to case because she said there was no need for me to.
But it was all for her. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, it was never for me to testify because there was no reason for me to testify because I wasn't there doing the act of the time.
And what was that judge's name again?
Oh shucks, I cannot remember her name right now.
It's okay.
Mary Ann Murphy.
Mary Ann Murphy.
And and then the ironic part about court, and this is where people, I'm a lover of teaching and learning. The ironic part about the system is the judge kept reiterating the fact of the system. Los Angeles County is extremely overpopulated. So if you're a citizen you own a home in this area, well, you know when the civil suit is won, the money comes from the state. And who takes the cuts when the state has to relinquish money? The system, courts, the things like community helpers, schools. So she kept reiterating in court, oh, we used to have 2 clerks, but because of all these budget cuts, this is during why the jury's in there, that we don't have that. Oh, we used to have a way where we could go have someone go downstairs and take care of this, but because of budget cuts. So as a citizen, I'm a homeowner. I'm thinking, I feel bad for your family,
right?
But I don't want my property taxes going up. When you're parked on the streets, I don't want a $75 ticket because they have to maintain the money from somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't want my city tax and my sales tax rising because if they're doing these enormous payouts, then this money has to be relinquished somewhere.
Yeah.
So subliminally, and it could just be me, but subliminally it's like that's what you're feeding into into people.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad for someone that happens, but why do I have to pay this family for, and now I'm questioning, was he in the wrong? Did he do something wrong? Why would the police pick him out? And it was told that the police officer stated himself that it was a warm, hot day, 85 degrees, and he had on a sweater, and that's what caused him to feel that there was something that he may have been in a car, but he had on a windbreaker. See, and if you go to school,
you wear a windbreaker.
If you go to school or you leave 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty cool. And most teenagers I know, they keep them on all day. You know, so it's like usually every day I have a sweater. Like, so it's like kind of like, it makes you feel like lessons that I taught, like always wear a sweatshirt, always wear a t-shirt, take a jacket with you. It kind of makes me like indecisive in those decisions when it comes to my other kids, because it's like, you know what can happen in some certain ramifications of things that happen. And so
How you talked about, you know, your other children. How do you think this has impacted how you mother your other children? Because I know you said your daughter, you know, had just been born, the youngest, right?
It's really hard. It's really hard to be confident in your decisions. And I think I just came to a place, like in the last couple days, maybe week, that has been a thing. It's hard for me to make decisions because I'm always thinking about what this decision. It's like this children's book. If you give a mouse a cookie and he goes through this thing, it's that idea. Like, if I do this, then this happens, and then this happens, and this could happen because of that. And because you look like you're not the same as somebody else. So it's really hard to be confident in the choices and the decisions that I make. With my 5-year-old, it's an anxiety build, because I know it's like a movie. I know she's born on this day, August 9th, and I know what's to come on August 16th.
Wow.
It's exactly a week apart. So we're celebrating your life of you being here, but in a couple of days, I got to figure out how not to let this anxiety build up and affect you. I know with my older daughter, a couple of years ago, I noticed she would act. My 5-year-old and the 9-year-old, they were really extremely close. But I know she was really distant towards her after her birthday that week, because it's like, it's a memory.
You have to go through all that all over again.
It's like, oh, we're happy birthday to you, and then now we're here.
Happy death day, you know,
And then it's a movie that we're in that we can't change the outcome of. So the decision making, the choices, we actually moved from California to a different state just to get some focus and balance and clarity, because it's like everywhere you go, it's a memory of him, or you run into somebody. And and I know it's hard for them. You're 16, one of my daughters is 16, and she had and the first day of school, this happened. Well, she hit her junior year, the first day for my daughter's high school year. So it's like, you go to school on this day, and it's like, you see people that know your brother, and now you see them older.
They're gonna bring it up.
And then you see them older. You see them driving now. You see them may have kids now, or you see them graduate from college, and it's a memory of who he is
and what he didn't get.
Well, he didn't get the opportunity to serve. But I have to say that a lot of people that knew him have channeled it in a lot of major positive ways. One of his friends that he ran track with, he ended up becoming a police officer that had impact, and he talked about him at his graduation ceremony. The impact that he never knew what he wanted to do, but the impact to him, he knew he had to make a decision. I had another person who joined the organization. She graduated. She acknowledged him when she graduated from college. She graduated from Laura Marymount, and she gave her diploma to him. So you hear people, not just the tattoos or but you hear people acknowledge his life and his love and who he was in such beautiful ways, and that keeps an idea of me being able to let my daughters know how important it is of who he is, and and
keep his memory alive.
And then letting them know that I don't, and it takes you in parenting that you don't do everything right, but you kind of. I'm more open, I think, now. Like, okay, but I try to be hard, because I tell them like stuff that I may have, like, well, no, you can't. I have to. It's more explanation given to that. Well, I don't want you to do this because of this, and I don't want them to feel like every time there's a decision I'm making, it's because of what happened to him. But I want them to understand that it's it's home. It happens.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's important to me. I don't want them to think like, oh, you shouldn't wear that sweater. Don't put your hood on because of this, because you know what happened to your brother. It's never any conversation like that.
Right.
But it's always to acknowledge, to keep that in your mind. This
Right.
has happened. This can happen. So let's be mindful of the choices that we made.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are about to wrap up,
Yeah.
but if you could you tell us something that the bug there?
I know, I hear him.
Could you tell us something that you want us to know about Kenny? Just, you know, final remarks or words.
That he's worth looking up. You know, I was like, people wear, I'm not a shirt person. I don't like, that just kind of like, I can't do the shirts.
Yeah.
But I think, and that's a good thing, because I like, it gives you the inquisitive to know who he was.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, because when I hear it, so it's like a book. When you read it, you might want to search. Just a great guy, and he would have did, and I wish he would have just had the opportunity to show the world how great he could have been.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most thing that hurts, because he was loved by so many, but look how many more could have had the opportunity to love who he was.
Yeah.
And just what cool dude, that's all.
Yeah, and finally, what does justice in this situation look like to you? Because I know you're still in the process. So what does that look like for you and your family?
I don't think there's any way that can be fully justice, because justice would be him being here and not rewinding the ticket.
Right, exactly.
So I think just for the officers to have some kind of a consequence to the action of what he's doing, and not be able to be available to do it again.
Yeah.
And I think that will be justice, for him to not be able to be in a position where he can hurt another family.
Right.
Whether that's going to prison, or whether that's becoming a regular civilian where you're not legally able to carry a gun.
Yeah.
Or, you know, because he has kids.
Yeah.
And how did
he have an event happen before?
Yeah.
Like
He's there was a mental health case in that scenario. They went to someone's house and they tried to restrain someone, and he ended up murdering them. Yeah. So I think for me, it's just a consequence to fit the action. He shouldn't be entitled to carry a gun. He shouldn't be entitled to his pension. So sometimes it doesn't have to always go into a position where it's like, oh, eye for an eye. I mean, you feel that way, you know, but it has to go to a position where you have to have an impactful for what you have caused. Yeah. And I think if that could happen, that would be some kind of comfort to me and my family. Yeah. To know that you're not allowed to ever hurt someone else's family like that. Yeah. Because there's no real such thing as justice when it comes to a lost one.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for just, you know, being here, coming out, spending time with everybody that's here and talking to us about this. Because,
anything to help a student.
Oh, thank you. And I want to say you look so good.
My baby.